Hey fellas, redoing the wording video. This time I'm actually going to make three separate videos. I'm not going to have one 50-hour long single video. And this is obviously part one. I'm going to
The
spread it up
prize is mine.
into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So, as a beginner guide, we're going to be talking about 0 to about 2.5k MMR, and I'll explain why. What is the difference between different levels of wording? Why am I going for different levels of wording? So first of all, in the 0 to about 2 there's no point adding all sorts of extra words. The reason for that is because nobody's actually looking at their minimap. Everybody's actually mostly focused on their available screen, and they're not really, they're not actively between last hits when they're moving around, things like that. They're not actually looking at the minimap. So adding words like words around a ward over here, for example, isn't really doing too much. Gank wards, preventing gank wards, and things like that. It's not really achieving anything. So wasting money active wards isn't really useful. What you do want to have wards is areas where people are actually going to look for um, actively. For example, I mean, I'm not doing a great job explaining, I know, but for example, if you're playing mid, where do you actually want to have vision on the map? Every 2 minutes, you want to have vision of the rune, right? So that you can know that it has spawned a rune. Now, obviously, you can just place one ward in this general area, any place where you can essentially get vision of the ward or the radiant. I mean, this is obviously the best ward, but you can quite happily place a ward over here, over here. Any of these spots will do. I like this particular, not this one. I like this particular ward right here, and the reason why I like this ward is because most of the time people will think that people when people are going for D wards, they're gonna award roughly, usually they'll put a sentry here, or they'll put a sentry here, and this sentry actually does not catch this ward out. Like, you have to place a sentry essentially like over here to catch this ward out. And like, why would you place a sentry here, right? It's this, usually you just slam one down and that's it. So I mean, this word is really decent because of that. Now, again, I don't want to go into too much
Regeneration.
detail for this beginner guide because nobody essentially is going to be dewarding. And it's also like, I wouldn't really expect you to deward, or I like spending gold kind of is wasted again in this bracket because people don't really buy wards. And if you're buying sentries, you're kind of wasting that 100 gold. Unless, of course, you see somebody actually place an observer. It doesn't matter if you're a carry or what role you're playing, just buy a sentry and deward it because it's free XP, right? Um, going over to this side. Now, as I said, you observer around this area to have around one of these areas. So for the top side, you can have one over here, you can have one, so it's pretty much just these two. Ah, yes, there is one more, but this is kind of a silly ward. If you're Radiant, then you don't want this ward. If you're Dire, you can place this ward. It's fantastic because it gets vision on this area. But if you're Radiant, you definitely just want to stick to these two wards. Or, I mean, in this general area, as we said, you want to get vision on the root. Actually, I just discovered the other day, if you walk up here and place an observer here, the enemy team actually doesn't get vision of you placing this ward. This is my new favorite ward for mid. The enemy team doesn't actually get vision of you placing this ward as radiant. The enemy team doesn't get, and you also give vision on the high ground, and it gives you your mid laner vision of anybody ganking. Obviously, as we already discussed, that that's not going to be useful, but still, it does give it a vision of this rune. Now, what I definitely do suggest is for this particular MMR bracket, both of the runes warded, at least for the first laning phase. I don't know how long your laning phase is gonna last, but as long as your mid laner is there, as long as the one of the two towers or both of the towers are there, have vision of the mid runes. And if you can have vision on both the runes even later on in the game, it's fantastic. So essentially, what I'm saying is just have two wards on the map at all times, at minimum. That should generally be because anything extra, you're pretty much going to be wasting it essentially, because your team is just not going to use it. So these two wards are going to be extremely essential for your bracket. And if you are looking for a little bit extra warding, extra vision, then I would suggest look at the intermediate and try to make your own playstyle a little bit more, make your own game a little bit more advanced. I covered the Radiant side. Do I want to cover the Dire side? I mean, you get the general idea. Kill wards as Dire. Again, this particular one is pretty decent. Actually, this same thing is pretty decent. Same. Like, why would you put a ward over here and you can put a ward over here? So this is a complete. If you put the ward over here, yeah, you're an idiot. So yeah, so same sort of wards for Dire with the one exception that you can actually place a wow, that was unintentional. You can actually place a ward up here which would actually cover the rune as well as give vision or on this rune and give vision on anybody who's farming on in this farming this camp. So yeah, these are this covers the base.